Beneath the bright surface of the tropical ocean, where sunlight still dares to enter the blue, a giant moves in silence. It does not hunt with fury. It does not strike with chaos. It glides like an ancient shadow, calm, immense, and almost unreal. This is the whale shark Rhincodon typus, the largest fish on Earth, a creature so massive that it feels more like a legend than a living animal. But the deeper scientists look, the more mysterious this giant becomes. How can a shark of such staggering size survive on some of the smallest life in the sea? Why does it vanish into the darkness far below the surface? And what secrets does it still carry from an ocean world we barely understand? Tonight, we descend into the hidden life of one of the most extraordinary creatures ever to exist, a gentle titan drifting between wonder and the unknown. Before we dive deeper into the abyss, make sure to subscribe to Abyssal Chronicles, leave a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next deep-sea mystery waiting in the dark. There is a moment, far from land, when the sea looks calm enough to trust. The sun glitters on the surface, the horizon is empty, and nothing suggests that beneath that thin sheet of light, a living giant is rising out of the blue. Then the water darkens. A shape forms below the boat, wider than a doorway, longer than a bus, moving with a silence so complete it feels supernatural. It does not charge. It does not roar. It simply appears, as if the ocean itself has decided to take form. This is the whale shark Rhincodon typus, the largest fish on Earth, a creature so immense that early witnesses could barely believe what they were seeing, and so gentle that even now it seems to break every rule people think they know about sharks. To call it a shark is scientifically correct, but emotionally it still sounds wrong. Sharks, in the popular imagination, are built from speed, teeth, and panic. The whale shark seems built from another idea entirely. Its mouth can open like a gate, yet it does not use that vast jaw to tear apart seals or chase blood trails. Instead, it glides through warm tropical seas gathering plankton, fish eggs, and other tiny prey from the water itself. National Geographic describes a feeding method thought to involve cross-flow filtration, a system more elegant than violent, where water enters the cavernous mouth and food is trapped before the water escapes through the gills. A body that could have become a weapon became something stranger, a drifting, spotted cathedral of appetite, designed not for hunting terror, but for harvesting abundance. And yet this giant is no simple surface drifter. Scientists long suspected that whale sharks spent much of their lives beyond our sight, but only electronic tags began to reveal just how alien their daily world truly is. Smithsonian reports that these animals spend much of their lives in deep water, often 200 meters or more below the surface, and tagging studies later showed something even more astonishing. Some individuals dive to nearly 1,928 meters, or more than 6,300 feet. Imagine that descent. Above, warm currents and sunlight. Below, a sinking corridor into pressure so crushing it could snap the lungs of an air-breathing animal into ruin. Though the whale shark has no lungs to betray it, only gills and a body built to move between worlds that seem mutually impossible. The deep ocean it enters is not just dark. It is another planet wearing Earth's name. Sunlight does not reach those lower layers in any familiar way. Color drains out first. Red vanishes. Orange vanishes. Yellow fades. What remains is a cold blue gloom and deeper still, a blackness so total it feels material, like ink, like stone, like the inside of closed eyes that never open again. Around the whale shark, bioluminescent organisms flash like nervous stars. Tiny animals pulse with private light. Strange jellies drift like shattered moons. Every movement is slowed by depth, by cold, by the weight of water above. And through that immense pressure, this giant fish moves with a patience that makes it seem less like a swimmer and more like a continent in migration. Its appearance only deepens the feeling that it does not fully belong to our ordinary idea of life. The head is broad and flattened, the snout blunt, the mouth nearly terminal, positioned at the front rather than beneath the head like in many sharks. Its back and flanks are gray to brown, marked with pale stripes and constellations of white spots. Those spots are not random decoration. Researchers and conservation groups use them like fingerprints, identifying individuals by the unique pattern behind the gills and above the pectoral fin. In a way that feels almost poetic, the largest fish in the sea is recognized the way we recognize stars, by patterns of light against darkness. What looks at first like camouflage becomes a name written across living skin. That skin wraps around a body shaped by an ancient inheritance. Whale sharks belong to a lineage of cartilaginous fishes whose broader ancestry reaches back far beyond whales, beyond marine mammals, beyond birds, into the old architecture of jawed vertebrate evolution. Genomic studies of the whale shark have made the species important not only because it is huge, but because it carries clues about deep vertebrate history itself. In other words, when scientists study the whale shark, they are not only studying one modern animal. They are peering into a branch of the tree of life rooted in a world older than the age of mammals, a lineage that survived mass extinctions, planetary upheavals, and entire revolutions of ocean chemistry and climate. The whale shark species we know today is not a fossil from the age of dinosaurs, but it is the modern expression of a body plan born from a very old shark story, one that proved astonishingly resilient. Why did that story survive when so many others ended? Part of the answer may be flexibility. The whale shark is not trapped in one narrow ecological role. It roams across the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans, appearing in offshore waters and near coastal feeding grounds, congregating seasonally where food blooms in dense, temporary riches. At Ningaloo Reef in Western Australia, for example, whale sharks arrive in spring when coral spawning helps create a buffet of plankton. In Mexico's Yucatan waters, in the Philippines, around Madagascar, and in other hotspots, they gather where the sea briefly becomes fertile enough to feed a giant on things small enough to drift. Survival, in this case, may not have come from aggression, but from mobility, efficiency, and an ability to exploit the ocean's sudden feasts wherever currents and biology make them possible. But that only makes the mystery larger. A fish this huge should be obvious. It should leave a simple trail of answers behind it. Instead, whale sharks have spent decades humiliating certainty. Smithsonian put it plainly, the sea's largest fish remained a mystery until recent decades. Tagging one female nicknamed Rio Lady showed her traveling about 5,000 miles in only 150 days. Other sharks vanished into deep layers and surfaced in places scientists did not expect. Researchers can predict some seasonal gatherings, but much of the whale shark's life still occurs outside human witness. Where exactly do they mate? Where do females give birth? How often do they reproduce? How many true nursery areas exist in the open ocean? For an animal famous enough to appear on postcards and documentaries, its private life remains almost shockingly concealed. Some of the most extraordinary revelations came not from watching a living animal, but from opening one dead female in Taiwan. In the mid-1990s, scientists found that a single pregnant whale shark carried around 300 embryos at different stages of development. That discovery overturned earlier assumptions and showed that the species is live-bearing. Even today, modern summaries still note how little we know, because that one female remains the only scientifically examined pregnant individual cited again and again in the literature. Think about that. The largest fish on Earth, known globally, filmed by tourists, tracked by satellites, adored by divers, and scientists still trace the foundations of its reproductive biology back to one astonishing body and the unborn lives inside it. This is not just rarity. It is biological secrecy on a monumental scale. Its senses are secretive too. Whale sharks do not need the predatory drama of great white sharks to be exquisitely adapted. In 2023, researchers studying whale shark rhodopsin, its dim light visual pigment, found evidence of a unique adaptation that helps it function in the low-light, low-temperature deep sea. The pigment is especially tuned toward blue light, the wavelength that penetrates deepest into the ocean. That means when the whale shark drops from bright surface feeding into the cold twilight and darkness below, its eyes are not merely enduring the descent, they are prepared for it. The giant that seems almost sleepy at the surface may, in the deep, be operating with a visual system sharpened by evolution for a blue world we can barely enter without machines. And still, despite all this science, people keep talking about whale sharks in almost spiritual language. Divers call them gentle giants. Writers describe encounters as exhilarating, humbling, even life-changing. There is a reason for that. Scale alters emotion. When a human being enters the water beside a whale shark, the mind expects fear. Instead it meets grace. A creature larger than many boats moves without hurry, without malice, covered in stars, carrying the calm of deep time. The experience collapses a false division people have inherited from movies and headlines, the idea that power must always look violent. The whale shark is powerful in another way. It is powerful because it does not need to prove anything. But gentleness does not make it safe from us. The whale shark is now listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List, with a 2025 assessment noting severe declines, especially in the Indo-Pacific, and at least a 30% decline in the Atlantic. The threats are painfully familiar: targeted and incidental fishing, entanglement, ship strikes, and the cumulative pressure of a world whose oceans are increasingly crowded, noisy, and industrialized. There is a bitter irony here. An animal evolved to survive the open sea, mass extinctions, and geological ages now struggles against propellers, nets, and commerce. Evolution built it for pressure from above measured in tons of seawater, not pressure from human economies measured in speed and steel. That is one reason whale sharks matter so much to modern science. They are not just charismatic giants. They are mobile data points connecting surface ecosystems to the deep sea, tropical tourism to international conservation, ancient vertebrate evolution to cutting-edge genomics. Their spot patterns allow long-term identification without invasive tagging. Their migrations reveal how productivity pulses through ocean basins. Their genome has helped scientists study broader patterns in vertebrate gene evolution and how biological traits scale with enormous body size. Their eyes are teaching us how vision can adapt across radically different light environments. And because so much is still unknown, every well-documented encounter has value. A tourist's photograph, a fisher's report, a satellite tag, a chance sighting from a research vessel, each can become a fragment of a puzzle still missing most of its pieces. There is also a darker possibility that keeps the mystery alive. What if what we see at the surface is only the most public version of the whale shark? What if its real life, the decisive life, the mating life, the birthing life, the old life of the largest females, belongs mostly to distances and depths humans seldom sample? This is speculation, but it is grounded speculation, because the known record already points that way. We know they dive deeper than once imagined. We know they cross enormous distances. We know breeding and nursery grounds remain largely unresolved. We know pregnant females are almost never encountered. The simplest explanation may be that whale sharks spend the most important parts of their lives where our attention, our cameras, and even our science still struggle to follow. So picture the scene one last time. Not the tourist postcard. Not the bright shallows. Picture a whale shark far below the surface, descending through columns of fading blue into black water cold enough to slow chemistry, quiet enough to erase direction, vast enough to make even a 40-foot fish seem small. Its spotted back disappears and reappears in the dark like a moving star field. Its mouth closes. Its body tilts. Somewhere below, tiny organisms pulse with light. Somewhere above, the human world argues, trades, maps, and forgets. But down here, this animal continues a journey older than our ships, older than our myths about monsters, older than almost every story our species tells itself about the sea. And maybe that is why the whale shark unsettles us so deeply. Not because it is violent, but because it is vast, ancient, and only partly knowable. It reminds us that the ocean is not empty water between continents. It is a living archive of survival, adaptation, and unanswered questions. The whale shark is one of its grandest sentences, written in cartilage, spots, and patience, spoken in migrations, deep dives, and silence. We have named it, tagged it, photographed it, and sequenced its genome, yet it still keeps enough of itself hidden to feel mythic. In the end, that may be the most honest lesson the whale shark offers, that even in an age of satellites and sensors, there are still giants moving through the dark beneath us, and the sea does not give up its oldest secrets all at once.